Wow, guys, like who would have thought this day would come? Like, this just goes to show that when a lot of people gather and when a lot of people demand things, Superman's lip can actually be fixed in a movie. Alright guys, so happy Monday afternoon, or rather it will be Monday afternoon when you see this video. I'll more than likely be asleep when this video drops because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm recording, so hopefully I don't look sleepy while I'm recording this video. But anyway, I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to get an early screening for Zack Snyder's The Justice League. So I want to say thank you so much to HBO Max and Warner Brothers for giving me the opportunity to see this movie early. The rest of you guys will be able to see it on HBO Max on Thursday. And so because of that, this will be a non-spoiler review, so don't worry, I'm not going to drop any specifics. However, with that said, most people have seen the Justice League movie. At least, I hope if you're watching a channel called BlackGayComicGeek, you've already seen the Justice League movie. So for the most part, if you've seen the Justice League movie, this movie is not that far off from the storyline, but just to make it official, I will read the synopsis for this movie. And it goes, fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists newfound ally Diana Prince to face an even greater threat. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to recruit a team to stand against this newly awakened enemy. Despite the formation of an unprecedented league of heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and The Flash, it may be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. And so yeah, to break it down really quickly for those of you that do not know why this movie even exists, it's because when Zack Snyder was filming his Justice League property in 2016 for the release in 2017, he ended up leaving the movie mostly because his daughter ended up committing suicide. And so they gave the movie to Joss Whedon to take over. And so it was a combination of Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon making one movie, The Justice League. And so you could definitely tell the two different director style and the tone was disconjointed and everything like that. Like the Justice League movie just felt clunky. Also, another thing I wanted to add really quick is, yes, we know Joss Whedon, he's a trash person and he's a very problematic person, but for the most part, and there's also a lot that I can blame him for the Justice League movie and things that he put in the movie that didn't work, but also at the same time, for the most part, I don't even fully blame him for what went wrong for the 2017 version of Justice League, mostly because A, it was originally Zack Snyder's movie, so they shot a large portion of the movie and he was brought into the process really late, and so now he has to make a movie that wasn't complete and wasn't done by him and turn it into a complete movie. And also he asked Warner Brothers for another year to be able to fully complete the movie, and Warner Brothers said no. So really he had to work with what he had to work with, and so I don't fully blame him for the movie. Like I said, I blame him for a lot, but I don't fully blame him for the way the 2017 version happened. And also because Zack Snyder never got to finish his vision, which started with Man of Steel and continued on with Batman v Superman and was supposed to continue with Justice League, and then he was going to do a Justice League 2, a lot of the internet was calling to release the so-called Snyder Cut, his version of what he wanted for the Justice League movie to be. And it's something that nobody thought would happen. Nobody thought this movie would come out, and honestly, I think but for HBO Max and this being a thing to sell HBO Max, I don't think this Snyder Cut would have happened. But here we are. And Zack Snyder's finally here to kind of complete the vision that he started. Well, was he successful? Should this movie have not have been made? Well, let's talk about it. Okay, so, I feel like I have to say this to get this out the way first. Like, when it came to this movie, honestly, I was very skeptical regarding this movie because I was just like, yes, while I am curious and while I would like to see what Zack Snyder's final vision was, I was like, well, we already got his final vision in Man of Steel and BVS. And I made no bones about the fact, now granted, I didn't have a YouTube channel back then, but I made it known on Facebook, my friends and things like that, that I was not that big of a fan of Man of Steel. Granted, I didn't hate Man of Steel, I just thought it was okay. There was just certain things that Zack Snyder did with the character of Superman that I just wasn't a fan of. Namely among them, how he treated and what he did with Jonathan Kent. Like, in my opinion, a big part of what makes Superman who he is, and a big part of his character, is despite his godlike power, there are still things that even he cannot save somebody from. And so to have his father die of a heart attack, I feel like is a huge moment of shaping who Superman eventually becomes to be. However, when you get to Man of Steel and you find out that his father died from a tornado, like, I just thought that was stupid, because it was something that Superman Clark Kent could have saved his father from. And Superman moves so fast, he could have saved his father without the rest of the world knowing that he even did it. So I didn't necessarily like that. And then I also just didn't like how brooding they made the character of Superman. Like, you can't have Superman be brooding and then also Batman be brooding. And so then also getting into BVS, while I thought Man of Steel was okay, I didn't like BVS at all. And without this becoming a BVS review, I just felt like he was trying to do too much. Like, he was trying to make this a de facto Man of Steel sequel, while also making it a Batman v Superman movie, while also making it a movie to introduce the DC Trinity, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, while also making it a Death of Superman movie. And it was too much. And it didn't work, again, for me. I know a lot of people love that movie, but for me, it didn't work. And like I said, I'm not gonna go too much into detail about that, because then this will change into a BVS review. But like I said, the reason I brought that up is to bring a little bit of context into why I was skeptical regarding this movie. But if you saw my trailer reaction review that I did, link right here, I did say that I did enjoy the trailer, and the trailer looked pretty good. But I'm still gonna go into this movie a little skeptical, because there's been plenty of trailers that have been cut great, and then you watch the movie and they're not that good. But with all of that said, and with all of that out of the way, I'm happy to report that I actually really like this movie. Like, considering what we got with the Whedon cut, and then also like considering like after watching Wonder Woman 1984, which I did like Wonder Woman 1984 more than most people. However, it still wasn't that good of a movie, and the more I sit with it, the longer I sit away from it, the less and less I like it. And so just knowing what we came from, and now knowing what we have now, this movie was leagues above the original Justice League movie and did the Justice League movie justice. Ha, pun. And the funny thing about it, like, I was starting to get nervous even when I first started watching the movie, because it was reminding me of something that Zack Snyder did in BVS. With the very, very beginning of BVS, the opening shot, it was gorgeous, it was beautiful. And then the music and score from Junkie XL, I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be awesome. And I kind of felt that way watching the opening of this movie, but then there's something that happens in the opening of this movie, and I was just like, wait, what is happening right now? I'm very confused. Like, what is this? And that's literally the same reaction I had at a certain moment that happens in BVS, and I was just like, wait, what is happening? And then that was just the first sign of like, okay, I don't like this movie, because then everything else was just like, what is this? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? So I was just like, oh no, it's happening again. But despite having that reaction, like, once we got into the movie, and despite being a little confused, not confused in the sense that I didn't know what was happening, but I just didn't get like how it was happening. Like, I don't know what he was doing. Like, I don't get that part. But anyway, once the movie actually started and we started to get into the characters, we started following these characters, like, I found myself really dialing into the world and to how different this movie was from the original Justice League movie. And funny enough, the reason this movie is like 4 hours, 2 minutes, and like 30 seconds long. And it actually took me more than 4 hours to watch this movie, partially because I found myself going back and comparing scenes from the original Justice League movie. And as I mentioned, like, if you've seen the original Justice League movie, you pretty much know what this movie is about. And a lot of the scenes that are in that movie are also in this movie, but they're way more fleshed out in this movie than they are in the Joss Whedon version. And a perfect example of that, without getting too much into spoilers, that scene or moment that happens with Diana at the very beginning of the Justice League movie, where she's stopping a bunch of people from blowing up a bank, that same scene is also in this movie. However, the action is so much better. The score is so much better. The things that you see Diana do, it's just so much better in this movie than it is in the other movie, because there are scenes in the Snyder Cut that weren't in the Whedon version that ended up making the Snyder version better. And there's also lines of dialogue in the Snyder version that weren't in the Whedon version. And I feel like the 4 hour runtime for this movie just made this movie that much better. There was just so many moments and so many character moments, so many action action sequences, so much mythology and things that were explained that they got to put into this movie that you didn't have in the Whedon version, or even if you had it in the regular Snyder Cut version, because most movies, they don't like to have over 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And honestly, like, this right here just tells me, for big epic movies, give me 3-4 hour movies. Like, I can handle it. Like, Avengers Endgame was 3 hours and I could have did another hour. So, and I remember hearing a long time ago when Ryan Coogler was doing Black Panther, he was like, oh, his cut of Black Panther is 4 hours, so he has to trim that down. I was like, don't trim it down. Give me the full 4 hours. If I could sit and binge watch a 10-hour show on Netflix, I could sit and watch a 4-hour movie. I mean, hell, Titanic was damn near 3.5 hours. And with that said, like, I feel like these 4 hours flew by in this movie. Like, at no point did I pause it to be like, oh my God, like, how much more time do I have watching this movie? And also, even with that, like, I could totally watch this movie again, despite knowing it's 4 hours, and I can watch it in one sitting. And I do kind of feel like this format works a little bit better in an HBO Max type of scenario, because it does give people the opportunity, if they do need to pause it to run to the bathroom or anything like that, you can do that and not miss anything, as opposed to if you were in the theater and you had to run to the bathroom or whatever, you would miss things. So I do feel like it works better in the HBO Max format. However, I still wish I would have been able to see this on the big screen. And there were definitely moments of humor in this movie. It wasn't all brooding and things like that. However, the difference is, like, Joss Whedon has a very specific type of humor. And yes, even though we know what we know now and know Joss Whedon is a trash person, I have been a Joss Whedon fan. Like, a lot of people, I talk about all the time how much I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so with that, Joss Whedon has a very specific type of humor that he has in a lot of his properties. And it does work. Like, you look at the first Avengers movie. The first Avengers movie, even still to this day, is great. It's a masterpiece. It holds up. And I still every so often will go back and watch episodes of Buffy and we'll laugh. However, when it came to the humor that he tried to inject in the Justice League movie, like, it just felt out of place and it felt weird, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. And I didn't feel that way with this movie. Like, the humor that was in this movie, in the moments that it was, like, it worked. I enjoyed it. And yeah, I just think that's the best way to just describe how I felt about this movie. Like, I had fun. And I just couldn't help but think about the original Justice League movie, the Whedon cut, because I was just like, knowing where we came from, like, started from the bottom, now we're here. So I'm like, yeah, like, this movie is just so much better. And then also, not even just that, but like, knowing what we know about Joss Whedon being a trash person. And this is something I'm so glad was not in this movie, and that even when I first saw the Justice League movie, I had a problem with it. And it's the way Joss Whedon treated Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot in that original Justice League movie. Like, there were certain moments in the movie, like when Diana went to go meet Cyborg for the first time, and she's walking down the street. There's a moment, like, where the camera it starts from, like, her legs, and it, like, kind of lingers on her ass for a little bit, and then it goes up. It's like, it kind of treated Diana very sexual. And there was another moment where the Flash would, like, fall on top of Diana and almost sex joke, and he's like jiggle on her boobs and all that other stuff. And it was just very disrespectful to the character of Wonder Woman. And Gal Gadot herself was uncomfortable with that scene, that they had a body double even do that scene, because she didn't want to do that. And that moment was not in this movie, and I'm so glad it was not in this movie. Like, Diana had her moment in this movie, more so in the other Justice League movie. I'm gonna just say the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut. In the Snyder cut, Diana had way more time to shine, and really all of the characters had time to shine. All of the characters had their moment, and one of the characters that really got squandered in the Whedon cut was Cyborg. And in this movie, Cyborg was definitely the heart of the movie. Cyborg definitely had his moment to shine. Cyborg was a lot more of a realized character in the Snyder cut than he was in the Whedon cut. And you kind of understood why he was in this movie, versus when you get to the Whedon cut, you're just like, why is he in this movie? Now, with that said though, I do kind of take issue with something that Ray Fisher said on Twitter, where he was like, thank you, Zack Snyder, for making this black superhero in Cyborg a powerful character, somebody that rivals the power of Dr. Manhattan. And when I saw that tweet, I was just like, granted, I'm not that steeped in Cyborg lore or reading a whole bunch of Cyborg comics, But I'm like, I read comics and I know Cyborg isn't like as powerful as Dr. Manhattan. Like, Cyborg is not that powerful. So I'm like, is that what Zack Snyder's doing in this movie? And after watching this movie, I'm like, Cyborg's not that powerful. So what the hell was Ray Fisher talking about? And yeah, like I said, like as a person that just was not a fan of BVS and just thought Man of Steel was okay, I'm actually surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie because I wasn't expecting to. Like, honestly, like before watching this movie and watching the trailer, I was still just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna like this movie more than the original Justice League. But I don't know. Like, again, I already saw Zack Snyder's vision with Man of Steel and BVS, and I wasn't that big of a fan. For this movie to completely flip me around on that, like, I'm surprised and I'm glad because I never want to go into a movie disliking a movie or go into any movie hating it. And so I'm happy that I went into this movie liking it. Like, this movie reminds me of the Zack Snyder that gave me 300. Like, I loved 300. Now, with that said, like, is everything perfect in this movie? No, everything isn't perfect in this movie. Like, I still dislike Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. And then also, like, with this movie being a direct connection to BVS, there's just certain moments and certain things from BVS that I just didn't like. And then what they dialed down to in this movie, I was just like, yeah, I don't believe any of this. Like, for example, chief among them, again, if you saw the Justice League movie, you know these story beats, so it's not a spoiler to say that, but how all of a sudden Batman wants to honor the legacy of Superman, even though in the very last movie you just tried to kill him, and now all of a sudden it's like, I want to be a better person because of him. And it's like, yeah, I don't believe you. And then also another thing with this movie that I don't necessarily like is how much, you know, the world honors Superman. Everybody loves Superman, but it's like, you go to BVS, the world didn't really like Superman that much. The world was taking Superman to court because of how dangerous they saw him, this godlike creature, and how dangerous everything that happened with Man of Steel and how much they blame Superman for that. But then you get to this movie, they make it seem like Superman is the world, but he was the most beloved superhero in the world. The world needed Superman. Everybody loved Superman. And it's like, wait, did you not see the last movie? And that's like my big criticism was saying Zack Snyder tried to do too much with BVS and it didn't work. Like, BVS should have been a Man of Steel 2 and not BVS. What he should have done was Man of Steel 1, Man of Steel 2, Batman, then BVS, then maybe Justice League, but then throw Wonder Woman in there as well. And then also another thing that I don't like is still how brooding Henry Cavill is as Superman. Now, granted, I do forgive some of that in this movie in particular because he came back from the dead. They brought him back from the dead. Again, not a spoiler because they do it in the original Justice League movie. You barely see Henry Cavill smile in this movie, and I'm just like, that's not my Superman. Like, honestly, as much as I love Henry Cavill as Superman, the writing for Superman, I like what they do for Superman and Lois, how Tyler Hoechlin is portraying him more than how they portray Henry Cavill's Superman. But yeah, those are my biggest negatives. Like, I don't have too many negatives when it comes to this movie. And I think the character, honestly, besides Cyborg, that benefited the most from the Snyder Cut was Steppenwolf as a villain. Steppenwolf was so much better in this movie than he was in the Whedon Cut. Like, in the Whedon Cut, it was just so ridiculous. It bordered on parody. And he only had like the one-liners, and the thing I remember him saying the most in the Whedon Cut was just, "Mother, I'm doing it for Mother." And I was just like, oh, who is this stupid ass character? But in this movie, he was actually a character. You understood his motivation. He actually had more than just the one line of saying "mother, mother." That's all he could say in the Whedon Cut. But in the Snyder Cut, he actually talked. He actually had a motivation. You actually saw emotion on his face. Now, granted, I'm still not a fan of the all CGI looking monster looking creature that they decided to go with for his design. Like, this is what Steppenwolf actually looks like in the comics. But then this design that they went with in the movie, like, I was just like, I don't know why they decided to go with this. I'm still not a fan of that design and that design choice. But the character himself was just so much better and so much more menacing in this movie. And actually getting to see Darkseid in this movie, like, yes, like, I'm not gonna continue to gush about this movie, but like, I really enjoyed it. And also, honestly, like, the way the whole Nightmare Batman sequence, Omega Apocalypse world thing that they portrayed in the original Justice League movie, it is so much better in this movie and makes so much more sense. Like, in the Whedon Cut, it made absolutely no sense. But then when you get to this movie, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes so much more sense. But also with that, one more criticism and one more thing that I don't like, even regarding this movie, that I also didn't like in the Whedon cut. I don't like how powerful and how needed they make the character of Superman for the formation of the Justice League. Yes, I understand that Superman and the Justice League are synonymous. There is no Justice League without Superman. However, the purpose of the Justice League and the reason why they formed in the comics in the first place, not one single hero was able to handle the threat on their own. Superman was not able to defeat Starro on his own. Wonder Woman could not defeat Starro on her own. That's the character that caused the formation of the Justice League in the comics. It took all of them together to be able to defeat the threat. However, for the most part, when it came to this movie, it's like, soon as Superman shows up, it's like, well, shit, you don't need the rest of the Justice League, you just need Superman. And that's one thing I'm just like, I kind of wish they didn't do that. Like, I want to see them be more, and granted, you got to see a lot of team moments with them before Superman showed up, but it's almost like once Superman showed up, it's like, all you need is Superman, and that's not why the Justice League is formed. If all you need is Superman, there's no point for the Justice League. And I also kind of find it funny how once we get to Wonder Woman 1984, how we find out that Diana can now fly, but then you get to this movie and you see Cyborg flying, but Diana can't fly. I'm just like, but yeah, but overall, like I said, I don't really have anything else to say. I really enjoyed this movie, and honestly, because they did say that this Snyder Cut, this is it. This is all we're going to get. We're not going to get a part 2 because we know Zack Snyder originally wanted to do a Justice League 1 and 2. But me, I'm like, with the way this movie ended and a certain character that shows up and what it teases for the future, I'm like, even if we don't get any more from the Snyder universe, I need another Justice League movie. Because the way this movie ended, I was like, oh, no, baby. You cannot do this to me. Like, especially considering like how surprised I was by how invested I was in this movie. I'm like, I need another one. I need another one. I need another one. So depending on how this movie does, the fanfare, the reaction, and everything, how you guys react to this movie, maybe Warner Brothers and HBO Max will give us another Justice League movie. And hopefully it's another 4-hour epic, because I'm just like, yeah, give me Justice League 2, please. And give me Man of Steel 2. Like, I need another Man of Steel 2. Maybe not directed by Zack Snyder, but give me a Man of Steel 2. But yeah, like overall, I would say the Snyder Cut version of Justice League, I'm gonna give it a blockbuster. You know what else I forgot to mention really quickly? I'm like, they spent about $70 million for reshoots to make this Snyder Cut happen. And I'm like, you couldn't fix the way Ezra Miller runs as the Flash? Because that's another complaint of mine. Like, he still like the way he runs looks ridiculous. And it still looks ridiculous in this movie. I was just like, they couldn't get like a running coordinator for him, because it looks, every time I see it, it takes me out of the movie a little bit, because I'm just like, this looks stupid. But yeah, like, yeah, hopefully once they get him in the Flash movie, like, again, they got like a running coordinator for him, because I don't know, he looks like, I don't understand, like, he looks like he just doesn't know how to run. And usually when I end these videos, I say, well, what did you guys think of Justice League? Well, you haven't seen it yet, so do me a favor, once you get a chance to see it on Thursday, let me come back to this video and let me know what you thought about Justice League. And also, are you like me, or were you like me? Are you not excited to see this movie? Are you skeptical? Did you love BVS? Did you hate BVS? What did you think about Man of Steel? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can't hit that thumbs up button and like this video, to really help out the channel. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. Falcon and Winter Soldier is this Friday, so tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.